Welcome to another edition of Bite Size Titans presented by Bite Size Sports. I am your host, James Schmeitz. Titans host the Chargers week 2 of the NFL season. Both teams coming off a loss in week 1. Obviously, the Saints beat Tennessee 16-15. Tennessee couldn't score a touchdown. On the other side, the Chargers lost to the Miami Dolphins in a shootout, 36-34. So quite a different type of way to lose. They scored almost 3 times as many points as Tennessee last week, so that's not great news. It's a huge game for both teams this week. Both teams looking to start to avoid starting 0-2. Historically, teams that start 0-2 do not make the playoffs. So big game for the Chargers, big game for Tennessee. Both teams have playoff aspirations, both trying to avoid 0-2 and the hole that comes with it. First up, we'll take a look this week at the Chargers offense. One game under their belt, great young quarterback playmakers everywhere. Statistically, from week 1, we've got the Chargers as the second overall offense, first rushing offense. We'll go through some of these stats here in a second. 13th passing. I found those numbers odd. It's usually, I figured it would be flipped. They've got stellar receivers and a great young quarterback who just got paid a ton of money. But first in rushing, 13th in passing, and then fourth in scoring. Like I said, they scored 34 points in week 1. So a very, very potent offense. Let me pull up their stats here. Give me just 1 second. There we go. As we wait for it here. Come on. Where you at, buddy? There it is. Okay. Got stats up from last week. So Justin Herbert is their millions dollar young quarterback who signed a max deal this offseason. Last week, he was 23 of 33, 229 yards, 1 touchdown, was sacked 3 times for 29 yards. It's crazy that you said 229 yards and 1 touchdown is not great, but for him, it really isn't. He's the type of guy that's going to throw 303 touchdowns on you. He's dangerous. He's a gunslinger, kind of like old Brett Favre back in the day. He's got a rocket of an arm. He's been a hell of a draft pick for them. He's been really good. So extremely, extremely dangerous quarterback in Justin Herbert. I expect them this week to pass more than run. Austin Eckler is probably going to be out, and they're going to try to get Keenan Allen and Mike Williams more involved this week is my guess, especially against Tennessee's defense, who's going to be missing 2 starters in the secondary, and Christian Fulton and Amani Hooker. Their rushing attack, which is number 1 overall, this is kind of a surprising thing, but I mean, they got good running backs. Austin Eckler is no slouch. He's really good. 16 carries, 117 yards, 7.3 yard average last week, 55 yard long, actually, 1 touchdown. He also added 4 catches for 47 yards through the air with a long of 35. He is most likely not going to play this week. He's doubtful. It's not great for the Chargers. That hurts them a lot, but huge deal for Tennessee there. Now, his backup, Joshua Kelly, had a pretty good week last week as well. 16 carries as well, 91 yards, a touchdown, nothing over 14 yards, 5.7 yard average. And I don't believe, he didn't catch any passes. He doesn't provide the passing, the receiving acumen that Austin Eckler does. So they'll lose a little bit of, lose part of their game, their little dynamism. I'm thinking of I can't think of the exact word I want to use there, so we're going to go with that. But Austin Eckler, a little bit more multi-dimensional than Joshua Kelly, and he is most likely out. So that's going to hurt their rushing attack from last week. On the receiving end, 2 stellar receivers, and they drafted a nice young one out of TCU as well. Leader of the pack is Keenan Allen. Last week, 6 receptions, 76 yards, long of 36. Didn't have a touchdown. Followed closely by Mike Williams, 4 receptions, 45 yards. 11.3 yard average, 24 yard long, 5 targets. Keenan Allen, 9 targets. They form a dynamic duo, one of the best top 2s in the league when they're healthy. The biggest problem they've had in years past, especially last year, is they can't stay healthy. These guys have both had 1,000 yards receiving seasons, but last year they just couldn't keep them on the field together at the same time at all. Both of them missed big chunks, and I believe Mike Williams missed the playoff game. One of them missed the playoff game because they played in a meaningless Week 17 game and got hurt. So They missed their playoff loss when they were up huge, but dangerous receiving core there. And then you add in the young buck out of TCU, Quentin Johnston. He had just 2 receptions for 9 yards last week, but that top 3 is dangerous. In Tennessee's secondary, who has struggled to cover anybody the last year and a half, is going to have its hands full, especially with Fulton and Hooker out. These guys are dangerous. I expect the Chargers to air the ball out, to be just going wild through the air. I don't think they're going to run it much, especially not against Tennessee's front, led by Big Jeff Simmons, who Tennessee obviously last year led the league in rushing yards given up, or rushing yards, given up. It was under 100 a game, and they're off to a great start this year. I think they gave up 69 last week against the Saints. So they're going to see Derek Carr through it pretty much at will on last Sunday. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to zip that ball around to guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston. They've got a pretty solid tight end in Gerald Everett. He had just 2 catches for 21 yards last week. Heck, I forgot they had Joshua Palmer. He had some big games last year when those guys were out. He had 1 catch for 4 yards last week. So I expect the Chargers to air this thing out through the air. I'm expecting closer to 300 yards passing for Herbert, which isn't great for Tennessee. But the rushing attack, I think, is going to cave in. I don't think they're going to have much success on the ground this week. I think they're not going to be stupid. They're going to see the stats. They're going to see who's out for Tennessee. They are going to be zipping this ball through the air a lot this week. So Tennessee secondary better be ready. They are going to have their hands full. Defensively, just stats-wise, they're just all right. You've got the 30th overall defense, 6th in rushing defense, 30th in passing defense, 28th in scoring defense. Obviously, they gave up 36 points and lost last week. Rushing-wise, it's interesting. These probably are, it's 1 week. It's just a 1-week sample size, just kind of like their offense, where I thought the rushing and passing were interesting, that they were flipped. It's kind of not the same on defense, but Miami doesn't run the ball at all. So to see that they're 6th rushing defense, yes, technically they are. They only gave up 70 yards last week, but however, the Dolphins threw it 45 times to 20 rushes. And they don't have a back like Derrick Henry. They got Raheem Mostert. Mostert is their starter, 10 carries, 37 yards, 1 touchdown. They have great stats. Backup is Eric. Man, I've never even seen this name before. Izukanma, 2 carries, 17 yards. Tua had 5 carries, 5 yards. So really, the Dolphins are airing the ball out. They're not trying to challenge you and beat you with the run. They're going to challenge you over the top, as evidenced by them giving up 215 receiving yards to Tyreek Hill last week. Some of these stats are pretty eye-opening. Tua, 28 of 45 for 466, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had a monster game. He doubled up Justin Herbert's yards through the air, which is quite crazy. And then the receivers, Tyreek Hill, mega game last week, 11 receptions, 215 yards. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 78. They feasted through the air last week. And Tennessee is going to need to establish the run. They got to get back to handing the ball off to Derrick Henry and establishing that run, especially after Tannehill's terrible week last week. However, they're going to need to throw. Like, Tannehill's going to have to be better, but this secondary, you can throw on him. Guys like D-Hop, if he plays, we'll talk about that. Burks, Chig, we got to be better through the air this week. If we're going to win any games this year, we have to be better through the air. Tannehill, obviously, we won't want to discuss that too much, but he was terrible last week through the air. So got to be better. You can throw on these guys. Defensively, they've got a couple big names that are hurt that we'll talk about. Joey Bosa and Eric Kendricks, both hurt. They've got Khalil Mack on this team as well. Asante Samuel Jr., the young boy. I mean, his dad was awesome. So not a stellar defense. Tennessee can run, can pass on these guys. They're going to have to put up points. Obviously, we're going to have to score a touchdown this week to have a chance, but I still believe in them. I think we got a good shot to win this week. I really do. If we can just figure out a way to put a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert and make his life miserable back there and not just let him sit back there and sling around and just tear us up. Next up, let's jump over to the injury watch. Both teams are going to be missing starters this week. Let's get this graphic up here. I got to be able to see this. Hold on one second. I got to switch this over for you guys. I can see it on my end. You can't see it on yours. There we go. Get that pulled up. There it is. For our audio listeners, I got the injury report pulled up in front of us for Tennessee. Pretty big. Some tough ones on there. Burks is good to go. I'm not sure why he's even on there. He missed Wednesday. He had a personal issue. They didn't announce what it was, but so there was no worries about him. Defensively, big ones. Amani Hooker is out with a concussion. We all predicted that when he got hurt last week. He had concussions last year too. So getting worried about him. He's always hurt. He had a fumble, a fumble recovery and a forced fumble on the kickoff last week, and he had a pick. He's great when he's healthy, but he hasn't been, and that's what sucks. And our tough injuries and those concussions are starting to pile up, and that's a little bit worrisome. And Tennessee doesn't mess around with concussions, so I don't expect him to play next week either. And the other one, another serial performer on this list, Christian Fulton's out with the hamstring injury, soft tissue injury again. Oh, that one sucks. So we're without our top corner and our second best safety. That's going to be – those are tough losses, man. Those are tough losses. And I was hoping this wouldn't happen again this year, but those two back on the injury report, missing week 2 games. So I have a feeling we're going to see that a lot throughout the season. The unexpected one is DeAndre Hopkins. Has not practiced all week with an ankle injury. It must have hurt. There's a video of him. It looks like he hurts at the end of the game last week, one of the later plays, but don't really know for sure. He didn't practice all week. Doesn't mean he's out. He's questionable. They talked to him today in the locker room. It sure sounded like he was going to try. Like he's going to try to play. Like I think there's a possibility he plays. We'll see if he does or not. I hope he does. I think he's going to. Again, don't really know. So we'll see on him. Tajay Spears was a full participant today. I'm recording this on Friday. He had a little bit of he was limited earlier this week. Same thing, Tierra Tart. He's full participant. Trey Avery will make it a season debut this week after missing last week's game against the Saints, so he'll help in that secondary that's suddenly pretty thin. Dylan Radunes is going to play this week. He obviously was cleared last week but didn't play. He will be on the field this week. Good for him. That's unbelievable that he was able to make it back in that kind of time. The amount of work that goes into getting back that fast from an ACL tear, as somebody that's doing it, like I tore mine last August. I tore mine way before his, and just to see, I know how much work goes into that strength training and mobility and flexibility and getting that all back. To see him back, like that's awesome. Good for him, man. That's so cool. And then the worrisome one on the offensive side is Peter Skoronski showed up. Another worrisome one along with D-Hop is he showed up on the injury report today. It's not an injury, he's sick. So he's questionable. So that one's a little scary considering we're less than 48 hours out from the game and he's sick like that. And he was arguably probably our best lineman last week. So we're going to need him, folks. Let's hopefully his illness isn't too bad and he's going to be there on Sunday. For the Chargers, dealing with their own problems, linebacker Joey Bosa is questionable with a hamstring injury. He's a limited participant today. I'm sure he'll give it a run. No idea if he's going to play or not, but he is questionable. And then they got 4 guys that are doubtful, most likely out. I've already mentioned Austin Eckler, an ankle injury, has not practiced all week. Do not believe he's going to play on Sunday. Their starting linebacker, Eric Kendricks, is a hamstring injury, did not practice all week. Also looking like he's not going to play on Sunday. And then you've got Chris Rump and Diane Henley, both doubtful for the Chargers. Obviously, Eckler is a huge loss on offense for him. He's dynamic out of the backfield, great running back, running the ball and catching the ball out of the backfield, which would be huge against Tennessee. And then defensively, Joey Bosa and Chris Rump, those would be huge loss. Joey Bosa and Eric Kendrick, their starters, would be huge losses. Obviously, everybody knows Joey Bosa, stellar defensive player, just causes havoc defensively for quarterbacks. So if he wasn't in there, and then you had Kendricks too, that's two very prominent people that would be in charge of taking down the king. So if they don't play, it's going to be, I think it'll be Derrick Henry's city. Even if they do, we got to hand the ball off Derrick Henry, but be tough losses for a defense that is just average at best. Across the board, they're just all right. They're better than they were last year, but this year they're just all right defensively. So let's go to the next thing here as I get things situated. Next up, we're going to be looking at key matchups here. What are we watching this week? First and foremost, can Ryan Tannehill bounce back? Obviously, 3 interceptions last week, 0 touchdowns. Didn't look like he was on the same page as D-Hop. Was missing Burks, wide open, missed Chig, wide open, Spears. Had chances in Tim Kelly's offense last week, and we couldn't finish. And mainly, there is no question about it. It was Ryan Tannehill that cost us the game last week. So can he bounce back this week? Can he bounce back? Can he attack this secondary of the Chargers that's just all right, especially and then if Joey Bosa's not in there to cause havoc, like he's going to have time, especially if Skoronski can play. So can he bounce back this week? Can we get a vintage Ryan Tannehill? Can we get a couple touchdown performance, no turnovers, good yards, get that rust off? Hopefully he's all gone after last week. So question number 1, key matchup is, can he bounce back this week? Can Ryan Tannehill make a bounce back game this week? 2, are we going to see a sophomore jump from Burks and Chig? Between them, they had 2 catches last week. Obviously, Tannehill missed Chig on a bomb, but Burks was nothing until the second half. Then he had 1 good series, and then that same exact series, he had a pass at him right here, dropped it. And it was a big second down. It was a long second down that would have made it easy, a shorter third down. So can we see a bounce back game? Can we start to see the sophomore jump from those 2? Like, they are important, especially if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play. Then they are extremely important. So it's very important we start to see some movement from those 2, start to see this sophomore jump from those 2. So I'm hoping for good games from them. Then, and again, more offense. Like I was going to talk more offense because our offense was terrible last week. I'm also watching Derrick Henry. How much are we going to see this week? Are we going to see a vintage game where we just hand the ball off and run it down their throats, try to get some play action open up? Is he going to get out snapped by Tajay Spears again? Like, I don't think so. I think they got enough heat for this one. Can't have that happen. Derrick Henry is the heart and soul of this offense, probably of this team. You go through him, hand him the ball, especially if Bosa and those guys aren't playing. The Chargers' rush defense isn't that good. Go through Derrick Henry, hand him the ball, smash mouth football, open up that play action for Tannehill, where he's been historically excellent. He's excellent on play action passes, so we need to set that up and get that done. And then defensively, it's, again, I think I said this almost every single game last year. We're going to do it again this year. It's Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston versus the Titans secondary. Byard, McCreary. It's going to be Murphy, Bunting, probably Molden, Trey Avery. Are they going to shred us? Are they going to throw for 2,000 yards again? Or is our defensive secondary going to have some bite to them? They're going to fight back a little bit. How much is the pass rush going to affect Herbert to help the secondary out? I don't expect them to run the ball very much, so we really need our secondary to step up and hold them. If they can, we're going to have a great chance to win. If they can't, we might get ran out of the building, folks. Obviously, they scored 34 last week. We scored 15. Got a lot of work to do. Predictions for this week. Line opened at 3 for the Chargers. It is now at 2.5, so it's actually gone back towards Tennessee. So it's moving in Tennessee's direction. I'm a homer, man. I'm never going to quit. I'm never going to quit on these dudes. I think Tennessee's going to win this 21-17. I think they're going to hold the Chargers to well below their season average. Tennessee's finally going to score some points on offense. I just don't like the Chargers' defense. Obviously, their offense can light it up with the best of them, and if we're not careful, they will light us up. I think our defensive front seven is going to cause them fits. Losing Eckler is going to hurt. That's a big, big part of their game. They're going to lose, so that's going to hurt them a lot. And I like Tennessee to figure it out offensively. Tannehill owned it, took it. He was terrible, awful. And he has this bounce back game this week. We scored just enough. Obviously, we're not an offensive powerhouse, but I think we scored just enough to win 21-17 this week. So I am putting my money on the Titans to win this week. I'm a homer. I refuse to quit, folks. So final thoughts this week. It's a key game, like I've said, for both teams, trying to avoid going 0-2. 0-2 is usually a death sentence for teams trying to make the playoffs. So very huge game, massive implications. I'm going this Sunday. I will be at the Chargers-Titans game. I had a winning record there last year, so I'm going to bank on that, knock on wood here. Had a winning record in Nashville last year, so I'm banking on them pulling it out. I think there's going to be a healthy dose of Derrick Henry this week. I think we're going to hand him the ball. I think he's going to have 100-plus yards, probably a touchdown. I think they're going to smash my football with him after getting away from him last week. So Titans win 21-17. Thank you guys for listening. If you like this Titans coverage, please like, subscribe, share this. Subscribe to Bite Size Sports. Don't miss any of our coverage. We currently have shows on the Titans, mine, Vikings, 0-2. So we started 0-5 last week. We're 0-6 right now. Steelers, Bears, and the Colts. Yeah, Colts suck. But so we got 5 shows. Make sure to check them out. Like, subscribe. We're on Spotify as well. This will be up on YouTube and Spotify. You can also catch me every Thursday night, 9 p.m., talking NBA, The Bounce on Bite Size Sports. Me and Kevin, I think we're going to make Keebler our third co-host. I think we're going to keep him for the rest of the season. He's been great. And then you can also catch me every Wednesday at 9 p.m., talking Star Wars, nerd stuff. I'm a nerd. You can see Darth Vrabel back here. This is Darth Vrabel on Han Shot First. We're doing Ahsoka reactions right now. We've been getting a lot of love there, so come down and join us. Thank you guys for listening. Send a prayer out for the Titans. I'm going to be there Sunday. Send a prayer out for me, and hopefully we come away from a win. And as always, just remember, tighten up.